ready. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend!
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, it's for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Oh, baby. It's Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or translator, and around the world on the interwebs at MichaelDukesShow.com. Hi, how are you? Are you ready for a beautiful day? Man, Friday, it's so ready. It's so ready right now. I'm sure I'll repeat myself, but I mean, I got a full day's worth of work to do after the show today, and I'm already ready for the weekend right now. I mean, this is a short week for me too, which is the worst. You're like, oh man, short week, it'll be great. And by Friday, I'm like, oh no. I just want to, So welcome to the program, and thanks for coming in and joining us this morning. We have got some headlines that we're going to dive into today, and some of the 2A headlines from around the country and around the world, actually, as well. So that should be fun to discuss. And we're also going to do a little bit of Q&A, gun Q&A, where there's no such thing as a dumb gun question. We'll invite you as callers to call in and sound off. You know, a couple things I would like to, I mean, yesterday I attempted to do the whole New Caller Thursday kind of thing, and we got a couple new callers that I'd never heard before, which is always nice. But on Firearms Friday, I mean, this show is not really about people who are already members of the gun culture. It really is for people who are ambivalent towards guns, or who are kind of a little bit positive, what we like to call gun curious. And so we'll be doing that. We'll be doing that as well. And I mean, I'm looking forward to this. I'm super looking forward to this. So this is the opportunity. If you've never called into the show before, and you're kind of, maybe you're just a little bit gun curious, or you're not totally fully into guns, or maybe you're just a little bit, maybe you're concerned about guns. You're not pro-gun, you're not anti-gun, but you've seen some of the things, you've heard some of the arguments, and you're not convinced one way or the other. Then that's what we're about here today. I'd love to have a conversation with you, especially somebody who's just not, if you're rabidly anti-gun, you're probably not listening to this program, right? But if you've heard some of the arguments and you're like, well, that sounds reasonable, if you've heard some of the anti-gun arguments and you're like, well, that, I do want to be safe, and I do want my children to be safe, and, so call in and let's have a conversation about it. And we'll open up the phone lines. The Pivotel call-in line at 907-433-3150 if you'd like to call in and be part of it this morning. We'd love to hear what you have to say. So it's going to be gun Q&A all day kind of thing as we go through. We're also going to do that, take your phone calls, but we're going to do something a little lighter today because, sometimes you gotta lighten things up a little bit. So this morning we're going to be talking about throughout the show, and this will also be part of the, hey, we'll take your phone calls on this, the your favorite movies that include gun fu, right? Your favorite gun fu movies. And you might ask yourself, what the heck is gun fu? Well, that's, it's a term that's been around for a while, but it's a term used to describe, choreographed moves in action movies, a style of the sophisticated close quarters gunplay seen in some action movies and in some Western films. It's kind of like a mixture of martial arts and guns, right? And so this is kind of the best. It's like guns and kung fu combined, so it's gun fu. And so, we're going to talk about some of the best use of guns, some of my favorite movies that include various guns and firearms, some of the what I consider to be some of the more realistic discussions on that. And so I'm going to have a list of some of the guns or some of the movies that I believe are some of the best gun movies, some of the best gun fu movies. And we'll see what you say as well. How about that? We'll jump into that. And that'll just kind of be our fun discussion for the day. And we'll get started there. Also, of course, as I mentioned, we got plenty of other headlines and things that we're going to jump into as well. But since I opened up the phone lines and invited you guys to participate, we've got some calls already this morning. Oh, man, it might be a nice, fun morning to get a chance to chat with you. So let's get started, shall we? 433-3150, 907-433-3150. We start off over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Brady from Las Vegas.
Hello, Brady. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fine. Yourself, Michael?
Good. It's Friday. Everything's, any day above ground is a good day, and it's Friday on top of it. It's a pretty good day.
Yeah, it's about 75 here right now in Vegas at 7 in the morning. It's going to be about almost 90 today. Go figure. Hey, but my favorite movie, my favorite gun movie I always like, because I'm a big fan of the Russian firearms. I've been collecting Russian firearms and old military guns for about 30 years now. And I used to be able to get these guns for about $80. They're the Mosin Nagant M9130, the 7.62 by 5.4R caliber.
Right.
And Enemy of the Gate is great. And, what I'd like to see, instead of arming all the grannies in Ukraine with AK-47s, I'd like to arm all of Vlad's citizens with the Mosin Nagant.
The Mosin Nagant is a classic weapon. And like you said, you used to be able to pick them up for like $80 a piece. And yeah, Enemy at the Gate is the siege of Stalingrad or Leningrad, whichever you prefer to call it. And that movie really shows some amazing, shows some of the amazing resilience of people who are, being attacked in their hometowns and everything else. It is a fantastic movie. And yeah, Mosins are they're kind of, and they can be hyped up. I mean, these days, I know that there's several different companies, including Archangel, that put together like super nice platforms for sniper stocks and all different kinds of things. And as far as ammo goes, 7.62 by 59R is pretty darn cheap overall. And so it's a win-win. It's definitely a gun that is a good way. It's a good entry-level gun. Even in today's, I don't know what they're worth today. I think a couple $100 is a couple $300.
No.
What are they?
600.
600.
600. I'm getting 600 to 700 for the guns that I put on the market right now.
Wow. Well, so
the SVT 40, the SVT 40 1941 model. That's the semi-automatic version, the 7.62 by 5.4. That gun's gone up to 4,000. 4,000.
Well,
that's how much it's gone up.
Somebody could have made a boatload of money, because you could buy most Mosins for $89, I think, by the crate. For whatever it was, I think it was 5 to a crate or whatever. So for less than $500, you could get 5 rifles, and if you just stacked them and racked them, you'd be making some money today for sure. That, of course, hindsight is 20/20 and all that. But
one quick thing, I mentioned, I think the last time on your show about the Azov Battalion and Zelensky, and I researched this group since God, they've been on a world terrorist list for almost 40 or 50 years now. And all of a sudden, NATO and the U.S. are supplying arms to the Nazi Azov battalion. And we're supposed to be stand with Ukraine. I don't stand with any Nazi. My grandfathers fought in World War II to get rid of these idiots. And now we're fighting the Azov battalion again and say, they're the good guys? Come on, people.
All right. Well, Brady, thanks for calling in this morning. I appreciate you sounding off and giving us your thoughts and hitting us with your favorite. Enemy at the Gate, definitely one of the top firearms movies, I think, really quite any, even like Saving Private Ryan, The Big Red One, those are all good. You know, a lot of the war movies are definitely a plus. Speaking of Mosin Nagats, I think what was interesting is that there was an article somewhere. Where was I reading it? Yesterday, day before? I just caught it in a flash on the side that the Mosin Nagats were being used. They were showing pictures of soldiers, actual infantry soldiers who were using them as well, which I found interesting that sometimes the oldies but goodies are still out there as well. Let's go over to the phones and continue here this morning with another caller. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Oh, good morning, Mr. Dukes. This is Mike calling down here from Savage, Montana. I'm getting ready to fly home to Fairbanks, and I wanted your opinion, Mike. I found a semi-auto G-Force 12-gauge clip-fed, and it is a beautiful firearm. It's light. It looks AR-15 style, and I was just wondering do you know anything about that, Mike, or is that a reliable gun? Should I buy a semi-auto 12-gauge, or are they prone to jamming? And I was just curious.
Yeah, no, there are many semi-auto 12 gauges out there. Probably the tip-top, as far as new production and newer style, is probably going to be the Benelli. The Benelli they've got a really good reputation, but of course, along with that, they've got a pretty high price tag. I'm not familiar with the G-Force 12-gauge semi-auto. I see that it's I see that there's a lot of folks out there that have had it, but Benelli, Winchester, they're really good. If you're getting a good deal on the semi-auto, then yeah, for an inexpensive semi-auto, probably wouldn't be too bad. If you've got money, you could always go for the Belgian A5 Browning style, the Browning A5 semi-auto. But there are some really good semi-auto shotguns out there that do a great job.
Okay, all right, Mike. Yeah, well, I was gonna give part trade for another firearm I have, trade in cash. But I was just curious because I'm flying out here in a few days back to Fairbanks, and I just wanted to know if I should get this before I head up there. But thank you, Mike. Oh, and you could sure tell the frustration in Brady's voice. We have so many problems here at home, and it's just, I think it's terrible we're spending all this money over there when we have, our country is on fire here down at the southern border. They're having so many problems down here, Mike. But anyway, I digress, but I'll let you go, Mike. Thanks for your excellent show, best show in the world on Friday.
Well, I appreciate that. Just so you know, I don't know what you're going to trade for that shotgun, but CDNN has got G-Force 12-gauge auto semi-auto shotguns. They've got them up for $199. So I don't know what you were planning on trading, but the retail value on them is only $330. So that's the printed retail MSRP. Of course, your mileage may vary depending on what the market will bear. But I don't know as I would spend a whole lot of money on anything beyond the MSRP on that for sure. So full MSRP $330.
Oh, you know what? I think I'll wait then. I'll do a little more research. I think I'll wait and I'll buy it back home.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you calling in and joining us this morning. Good to hear from you.
You got it.
Have a safe trip home. All right. We're up against the break. We've got more coming up. We're going to continue here in just a moment. It is Firearms Friday. We've got open line, open forum. It's gun Q&A all day. And we're going to continue, including our best and favorite gun fu movies. Brady's already hit us with his, which is Enemies at the Gate. I've got a few. I mean, when you say favorite, I can't pick just one. So we'll continue to talk about that here throughout the show this morning as well. We'll continue back with more. The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, in the break right now, we got one line on hold. We're going to get their name here in just a hot second. Look, Brady's got his opinion. I think he's wrong, personally. I don't know if you've heard about the Wagner Group, which is a group of former Russian Spetsnaz and some criminals and some other thing. I don't know if you've been following this as well. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. I don't think that you can realistically look at this and say, oh yeah, Nazis infiltrated the Ukraine. They've been there the whole time, led by a Jewish president. That he's a Nazi. He's a Jewish president who's a Nazi. We talked about this a bit last week, but I mean, I just think there's some crazy stuff going on out there. People who are going on telling me about how Russia is going to save us from the New World Order. I don't know if you've seen what's going on in Russia or if you've been paying attention to what's going on in Russia since the fall of the Soviet Union. There was a brief period there where they were probably one of the freer nations on the face of the earth. But then they got cracked down on again, and now it's an authoritarian regime again. I mean, look at what happens to people who publicly oppose Vladimir Putin. They mysteriously disappear. They get poisoned. When they leave the country because they're not going to fight it anymore, they get the polonium-210 when they're somewhere else, right? Navalny, the guy who has been one of them, he just got sentenced to 10 years in prison or something. I mean, again, to hold up Russia is like, these guys are our saviors from the New World. No, that's not how it happens. It's just not how it goes, folks. I'm sorry, you're wrong. I just, I can't say it any other way. I'm sorry, you're wrong. But I appreciate his input on the whole Enemy at the Gate thing. Great movie. I haven't seen that one in years. I should go back and rewatch that. All right. Let's get the next caller's info here so we can rejoin the radio. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael. This is Ron in North Pole.
Hello, my friend. You hold the line, and you will be first up in the queue when we return to the radio. That'll be fun stuff. Let's see. Turkish shotguns are all the rage, says Sean. I mean, yeah, there was a lot of Turkish shotguns out there that are going on. Yeah, Crimson says, Crimson on Twitch goes, go Google protest videos if you want to see what happens in Russia. It's basically North Korea. I mean, that's the thing. And a lot of the people who were, because Trump admired Putin in so many ways, because they're both authoritarians. I mean, whether you like it or not, that's really the attitude that Trump has had as well. And he publicly admired Putin in so many ways. You got a lot of people who were like, oh, yeah, well, he must be he's a strong man. That's what he is. He's a strong man authoritarian. And it's crazy. It's crazy. What's the saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Yeah. Let's see. It's always easier to fix someone else's problem than to fix your own. That's true, too. We don't want to look inside. Although there is some good news coming out of some of these stories from Ukraine and everything else, and it has changed people's perspective a bit, which I think is good. But, yeah, so much Russian disinformation floating around out there. Our current administration is looking pretty authoritarian itself, so there's that. It does. I mean, the presidency has become more authoritarian over the last 15 years. Luckily, we still have some checks and balances in place that hold some of that in check. but it has become more and more where presidents are ruling through edict and executive order and everything like that. I mean, that's the nature of government, right? That's the nature of government, and that's the nature of well, it's sociopathy, sociopaths. Okay, that's what I mean. That's what they look for. They want to control everything. That's how it goes. And most politicians are sociopaths. Most of them are, period, at almost every level. Just go read Doug Casey's arguments on that, and you'll be convinced I was 15 years ago that was definitely what's going on. All right, we're coming up on the break. We're going to continue. Ron is on hold, and we're going to take some calls, headlines, favorite gun fu movies, the whole deal. Let's jump back into it. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. All right, welcome back to the program. It is Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature. The call-in lines are open at 907-433-3150, powered by our friends at Pivotel and Satellite West. Feel free to dial us up this morning, as Ron did. Ron calling up this morning to talk with us about, I don't know, something gun-happy. So let's jump over there right now and see what he says. Good morning, my friend. What's on your mind?
Well, you're talking about the gun fu movies, and I take a slightly different tack on that. I kind of like some of the lines as opposed to the action itself. And two that come to mind are, one is from a spaghetti western, I suppose the original spaghetti western for a few dollars more.
Right.
Where Eastwood says to the old carpenter, "Make that 4, my mistake."
Yeah, exactly. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And the other is the perp in the diner says to Eastwood, "What do you mean, we, you pig-eared sucker?" And Eastwood says, "Me and Smith and Wesson."
Yeah, no. I mean, really, as far as gun movies go, some of the oldies are still goodies. And when people think gun fu today, they think again kind of the cinematographic, The Matrix and some of these other ones, the ballet of the gun kind of thing. But there are some older movies. Probably one of the most iconic is Dirty Harry, right? I mean, there's some gunplay in it. It may not be as realistic, but there are some iconic moments. When here's Dirty Harry got the guy on the ground, and you're like, did I shoot 5 or did I shoot 6? Do you feel lucky, right? Yeah. Do you feel lucky, punk?
Punk?
Yeah. I mean, those are some amazing, those are some amazing shots. And so, yeah,
absolutely.
It could be the beautiful cinema of the gun, like the cinematography or the choreography, or it could be just those iconic moments where you're looking down the barrel and you're like, woof, yeah, that gets your attention. So it's
well, if you go all the way back to the original movie, Dirty Harry. Think about the beginning, the red background and the Model 29.
Yeah.
Which is the most powerful handgun in the world.
Yep, exactly. The most powerful handgun in the world. Until it wasn't, of course. But, it's definitely some interesting movies. I'm going to throw out a few of mine here in a bit, but I want to hear what everybody else is going on. So thank you, Ron.
I look forward to it.
Thank you thanks for calling in. And I may pull some movies out of the Wayback Machine that you may not be aware of that are some good ones. But let's get to some headlines first. Feel free to call in and interrupt me if you'd like this morning. You can call in and you could share with us your favorite gun movies or gun fu movies, either one, gun movies or gun fu movies. There are a few that definitely bear repeating for sure. Some interesting things are happening. Wait a second. I gotta pull these two stories together because they are interrelated. So I'm looking at. So there's some good news and bad news, right? Good news and bad news on the horizon. One of the more interesting pieces out there is the fact that there are some strides being made towards making people safer without interfering or infringing on their right to keep and bear arms. Most recently in Arizona. There's a bill now that seeks to take a step towards making students safer. I mean, we used to teach gun safety in this country. I mean, we used to have rifle teams, right? For high schoolers and things like that. And we didn't have nearly the instances of negligent discharges, it seems. And again, maybe it's a sign of the times that now we're all interconnected and I could see what happens in Florida 20 seconds after it happens. Maybe it's an instance of that, but it seems that, when you were growing up, you had a little bit more respect for some of these things and firearms and things like that. But there's a new Republican bill that would require a NRA gun safety course for Arizona middle and high school students. It would require all Arizona schools to teach students about firearm safety at least once between 6th grade and graduation at the end of high school. Now, it doesn't put guns in student hands. That's not what the gun safety courses do. But they do teach students, what happens if they happen to stumble across a gun, and teaches them the basic premises of firearm safety. And I think that's important. I remember growing up, as Terry and I grew our family and our family started and everything else. And of course, guns everywhere, right, in my house. And I remember, getting that first Eddie Eagle video, which is for younger children, not middle and high school students, but is really for children who are in the, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 range. And that video was amazing. And my kids would, they'd watch it every now and then, or I'd put it in for them every now and then. And it would remind them, stop, don't touch, run away, tell an adult. And that is some good stuff. For the younger kids. And I think this is a step in the positive direction. Just teaching kids about gun safety doesn't even require them to have a firearm. It's not like you're bringing guns into the classroom to show them firearm safety. It could just simply be instructional videos. It could simply be, the 4 firearms rules. I don't know exactly what the NRA gun safety course for high schoolers would entail, but I think it's a positive step. Instead of shrouding them in mystery, instead of, giving the kids love the taboo, right? Kids are always more tempted by something that is verboten. That's how it always is. Oh, I shouldn't have that. Well, I want to go try it. And I always believed that was important. If my kids wanted to see a gun or talk about a gun or touch a gun or find out more about how it works or take it apart or go shooting, we did it. We did that. I wanted to demystify it. I wanted it to make it not, the taboo because, hey, maybe I want to do it. If everybody says that I shouldn't, then maybe I wanna. So I think this is a positive step. I think that there should be gun safety courses taught in all schools. And even for parents who are anti-gun, the chances of your kid, wandering across a gun at some point in their life it's there, right? It happens. How many times have you heard about one kid going to another kid's house and getting shot with a gun that wasn't loaded because they were messing around with it? Right? Oh, this gun's not loaded. Don't worry. Bam. Little Johnny's dead. I mean, just teaching them about that would make that a lot easier. So anyway, there are some good things. So it's moving forward in Arizona, and it's just one vote away from the governor's desk in Arizona. And I'm excited to watch what happens with that. I'm excited to watch and see what happens with that as well. On the other side, we've still got some bad stuff that's happening. Jay Inslee, the governor of Washington State, has now signed a bill banning the sale or the purchase of what they call high-capacity magazines. This is what we call standard capacity magazines, right? Because these are the magazines that these guns have come with for years. And in a signing ceremony, he featured a number of gun control supporters, including members of Moms Demand Action, but the general public wasn't allowed to attend. And in fact, the state capitol building was closed to the public for several hours before and after the bill signing so that no protest could happen around that. I mean, anyway. I don't think this is going to really hold up. The bill, the bill signed into law doesn't do anything about high capacity, which is they're saying anything over 10 rounds is a high capacity magazine, which we know it's standard capacity magazines for a lot of pistols is like 14 or 15 rounds. Standard capacity magazines for like an AR rifle or an AK is 30 rounds. That's a standard. That's just what it is. The new law doesn't bar the possession of any magazines that were purchased before the ban took effect. And trust me, there was a gold rush of purchases of standard capacity magazines going into Washington State in the last few weeks prior to this going into law. So this is really going to change nothing because those magazines will still be in possession. And there's already been indications that Alan Gottlieb in the Second Amendment Foundation has already said that they're going to be filing a lawsuit over it, and several other organizations as well. We've seen that the Ninth Circuit and the California Supreme Court at one point has said that the 30-round magazine is in common use and it can't be, and it's illegal for them to do it, which was then that was an en banc panel of the Ninth Circuit, and then it was overturned by a full circuit thing. And this is going to the Supreme Court, okay? Because remember, the Supreme Court has already said that arms that are in common use for lawful purposes are protected by the Second Amendment. And when you look at the fact that there are over, 100 million, easily 100 million standard capacity magazines in the country, then it's going to be shot down. And again, it doesn't really matter. The Virginia Tech shooter used nothing but smaller capacity magazines. He had all low capacity. I don't think there was a single magazine he had that had more than 15 rounds in it. And it just doesn't matter. It's not going to make an appreciable difference. And that was really the argument that the judge in California found, was that this argument that the state of California was making over the that higher capacity made the crimes more dangerous, and they could not prove it. And the judge says, you've not made an argument for us to squash the rights of law-abiding citizens. You haven't made a compelling argument to say that works. But Washington State, man, those folks, they just love to write new gun control laws. And that's what they're doing right now. It's some crazy stuff. But we're getting to see more and more positives coming out. And Ukraine, I think, has pushed some of this. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But we're seeing more and more support for the Second Amendment. We're seeing a continual erosion of support for President Biden, for his flunkies, and for gun control in general. And I think that is a good thing. So we're gonna continue to talk about that, and we will cover more on the other side of this brief commercial break. How about that? We gotta go. We'll be right back. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Make sure you come out and join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Michael Duke Show. Make sure that if you miss anything, if you subscribe to the podcast, it'll automatically download to your mobile device. So go to CastBox, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, and of course Spotify. And we'll load that up every morning, and you can get your dose of common sense radio right there. Back with more right after this. It is Firearms Friday.
We're We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. In the break right now, getting things ready for the next segment. Let me kill this. I read that one, and I read that one. My whole thing is full of windows right now that I want to make sure that I keep everything rolling smoothly. Let me get joined in by. Oh, let me do this right here. Burk. Okay. Now we got everybody in the chat room, and we got the window up. We're all good. Okay, let's go over the phones. We got one call on hold. We'll get their name and where they're calling from to proceed here. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mike. My name is Mark. I'm a gunsmith out of Delta Junction, Alaska.
Okay, Mark in Delta. Hold the line, Mark, and you will be number one with a bullet when we return to the radio, and we'll get to see what you have to say this morning. I'd love to hear it. So thank you for calling in. Hold the line briefly. We'll be back to you here in just a few minutes, okay? And we'll get started on this. Let's see. Okay. All right. I've done it. I've read all that. Okay. So let me go back in the chat now. Total idiots are generally authoritarian. You're not wrong. Sandy says Putin is out for the New World Order, but that's because he needs to overcome it to resurrect Mother Russia. He wants to take their place. They're all going down. We will see what happens. By the way, China will eventually go down too. I mean, yeah, I hope so. I think one of the biggest shocking things that you've seen out of this whole conflict is that Russia is not nearly the boogeyman that everybody in Europe and in the West assumed that they were. I think that they've shown that their hand was weaker than everybody anticipated, and I think that's a good thing. But this is definitely going to put some constraints on it. Jill says that's why it's important to have limits and constraints on government. Balance is everything, and we're currently out of balance, beginning to wobble. It bang like an unbalanced washing machine. Time to call the repairman and fix the problems or get a new washer. Okay. Sean's watching The Winter War, 1989 Finnish war film directed by Pekka Parikka, based on the novel Talvisoda by Antui Turi. Tells a story of the Soviet invasion of Finland. That sounds interesting. Let me know how it is. That's kind of interesting stuff. North Pole Rifle Team practice in the halls in the winter. Ironic. No gun-free zone there. Yeah. No, I mean, it's pretty crazy what used to happen. All right. The Washington state government is infiltrated by crazy people, says Sean. Then again, Juneau is overrun by the pirates that do nothing. We are the pirates who don't do anything. Western Washington was losing its mind even then, is what Terry says. That's why they left 17 years ago. I can guarantee you Eastern Washington will ignore idiot Inslee. MMDJ1. That is MMDJ1. Why is that familiar? I don't know why that's familiar. MMDJ. All right, well, you go ahead and tell me what that means, Brian, because apparently I have not had nearly enough coffee today to be able to decipher that. They still do this day practice there, said Jimmy. Oh, they're still doing rifle team practice? Oh, Major Metro Delta Junction. Okay, I get it. All right. All right. Well, do me a favor, guys, will you? We're sitting here talking. I'm dissecting and mumbling and running around looking for more coffee or Monster or whatever it is that I'm looking for. Would you share the show? Would you share the show with your friends? Would you share it with the public? Would you like and share the video from Facebook and from YouTube? And would you like and follow the show page? Like and follow the show page on Facebook and subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube and on Twitch. If you want to follow on Twitch, you can. I want to hear what Mark has to say as well. We are less than 60 seconds away from returning to the radio. So we're going to hear from Mark here in just a hot second. So don't go anywhere. All right. All ready? Let's get this thing ready to rock and roll. Don't forget, coming up next weekend at the Carlson Center, it is the outdoor show. For the first time in 2 years now, they're going to have the outdoor show, of course, which also includes the Interior Alaska Gun Show going on. So I will be up there for that. So I hope you guys come out and see me and say hi for that as well. All right, here we go. Jumping back in. Mark is up in the queue as our first guest. Let's do it. Okay, we're continuing ahead here on this first hour of Firearms Friday. We're taking calls on your favorite gun fu movies or gun movies. We're taking calls and questions and Q&A. Mark is in Delta Junction. He's a gunsmith out there. He wanted to call in and share with us some ideas. Mark, what's on your mind this morning?
Well, Mike, I wanted to bring up three things real quick.
Okay.
First off, I got a notice from ATF this morning talking about rare breed triggers. They're a forced reset trigger, and they have now been quote-unquote outlawed. They're now being considered an automatic weapon if you have them in a firearm, which is not really true. But I just kind of wanted to bring that up for anybody that had those type of triggers to be warned about that that's coming down the line.
Yeah, no, that's actually one of the stories that I was going to go over today because when that first came out, everybody was like, what's going on? And now the ATF has actually pulled that back down off their Twitter site, and they pulled the letter back as well because, I mean, how you could describe a forced reset trigger as a machine gun, it actually is supposed to perform the opposite. I mean, it forces you to reset, right? You have to reset to be able to fire again. And so I don't know what's going on with that, but it's already making the rounds out there for sure.
Yeah, and it's just ATF overstepping their boundaries as usual. The second point I wanted to bring up, and like you said, home training for the kids. At a very early age, I started my kids both at handling firearms and basic training with them. And the rule in the house was, as you could see the firearm, touch the firearm, play with it anytime you wanted, as long as, myself or mom was around. And one day that actually came true. There was a boy that come over with my son, and there was a gun out. Granted, it was unloaded, but he wanted to pick it up and play with it. And my son said, hey, wait a minute, let's go get Dad. And so I came there, and, the child was just like, oh, my God, he's actually going to let me touch it. And then there was an opportunity there to train that child about gun safety. His mother didn't like that, but my point to his mother is that, either I could have been there and taken care of the problem or, might have had a dead child.
Right, exactly. And it's not like usually living in Alaska, it's not like unless you're going to put the kid in a box and not allow him to leave your home, that he's probably not going to end up in somebody else's home where a gun might be present. You need to know the rules of that. Whether you support firearms or not, you need to know the rules.
Correct. So, and another point I wanted to bring up, like I had said earlier, I am a gunsmith in Delta. I want to tell people if they're going to buy firearms, stay away from the big stores. Go to your local dealers for two reasons. One, you're helping out the local community and you're keeping the money in the local community. But number two, most of these locals will not only show you how to disassemble and reassemble your firearm and clean it, but they'll teach you how to use it, the basics. So if you're unfamiliar with the firearm and you're purchasing it, at least you have an idea of how to clean it and how to use it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I always would go, before I would go anywhere else, I don't think I've ever bought a gun from a big box store. I know that sometimes they get the best deals. I know sometimes they may be able to get things or have things immediately in stock that some of the smaller dealers don't. But that's one of the real things where I believe fully in the mom and pops. Because, I mean, they're the ones that are out there that are going to be here, that'll be making decisions on the local level instead of some, big office back east somewhere, or in the case of some of these box stores in some other country, making a decision about whether to carry a firearm based on public perception. And I fully believe that you should be supporting your local gunsmith, your local gun store. That's why, in Fairbanks, we got Frontier Outfitters. They're the ones that have been sponsoring Firearms Friday in Fairbanks for years because they fully believe that. And that's where I would go to get a gun. Again, just a small gun counter with a bunch of guys who want to do nothing more than help you out and help you learn and welcome you to the gun culture.
Yes, and I totally support them guys there. I've dealt with them before, and they're very professional.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you with this last little fact. John Wick movies. For your gung fu, I know those are kind of new movies, and to the point they're almost unbelievable at times. But there is a lot of neat moves in those films that I think would kind of touch on that genre for you.
Well, I got to say, John Wick movies are really at the top of my list for a couple reasons. First of all, they don't have the endless magazines, right? I mean, they show him having to reload. They show you, having to, malfunctions and other things. And the other thing that I love about it is that Keanu Reeves went through real three-gun training. And you could see it. There are videos of him on YouTube running three-gun courses and everything else. It's something that he really enjoys personally, and you could see that come through on his proficiency with those firearms. It is really one of probably the most true to life as far as the actual movements, the usage of guns and everything else. It's pretty amazing stuff, and the choreography of it. While it is like a ballet. It's like a ballet of violence. It's pretty good. It is one of my favorite movies of all time, for sure.
It is. So, Mike, I just want to say thank you for not only supporting the firearms, but also for all the work you do for us and getting the word out for common sense.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you so much for calling in this morning, and thanks for sharing your thoughts as well. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. So Jimmy in the chat room says, John Wick, after the first 30 dudes killed, I was kind of done. Well, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some non-realistic things in that, but I will say that the actual gun use and the mechanics of the guns is definitely a great movie. It hits the top of my list. It's probably close to my number one, gun fu movie for sure. Although I will say that, one of the movies that probably would surprise you, is that is a movie that I don't even know if it really made any of the big lists, but it's a movie called Collateral. Which was a movie that was made by director Michael Mann back in 2004, and it features Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx, and it is a really good movie about a hitman who basically takes a cabbie hostage, and as this contract killer is making his rounds through Los Angeles one night, making a bunch of hits, and Tom Cruise is the hitman. And there again was some really realistic gunplay in that movie, and it was probably one of the first movies that I saw that really featured some real true to life CQB, right up in your face kind of gunplay. And that was a movie that I've watched several times that I really like that as well. So it's a good thing for sure. Gary in the chat room says, everyone who works at the large stores in Fairbanks lives here just as the same as those in Frontier, just like Lowe's and Home Depot that hire blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying that people who work at those stores are not Fairbanksans or not locals in any community that they happen to reside in. My point is that some of the big box stores can make decisions at the corporate level that are, that have nothing to do with Fairbanks themselves, has nothing to do with Alaska. Again, could be from a completely different state, could be from a completely different country, making decisions on what they should carry or what they will allow their employees to sell based on public pressure, public input, things like that. And those decisions in the smaller stores, in the mom and pops, in the locally owned stores is different. That's why I support those. I'm not saying anything bad about the box stores. I'm just saying I choose to spend my money with the locals, the locally owned stores. There are locals working at all the stores, but the locally owned stores, because they are more responsive and they won't bow to pressure from some East Coast group or some protest or moms demand action or something else like that. That's why I choose to spend my money in the locally owned stores, the mom and pops, the Alaska Guns and Ammos and the Frontier Outfitters and these smaller, Morgan's House of Guns or some of the smaller ones, because they will not bow to pressure from some corporate bean counter. Look at what happened to Fred Meyer's. Look at what happened to Walmart. They hire all local people and local people work there, but they have constantly changed what they've sold. And now they like Fred's. Does Fred's even sell? In fact, Jimmy just said Fred's. Guess what? Fred's do not sell. So Fred's doesn't even sell guns anymore. And same thing going on at Walmart and everything else. So look, I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that I prefer to spend my money in smaller companies who will not bow into the pressure of things that we've seen, from wokeness, I guess, is, virtue signaling that we're going to stop selling whatever for that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's not, again, about being anti-box store. It's more about being pro-local ownership. And apparently there's a new gun shop in Homer as well. It's called Bay Welding Custom Gun Shop in Homer. It's the newest of the locals, says Bill. So welcome to the party, pal, for Bay Welding Custom Gun Shop in Homer. I guess I'll have to stop by and see him next time I'm down there in my adopted hometown. All right, my friends, we are up against the break. We got more coming up. Hour 2 is dead ahead. Willie Waffle's going to be finishing up the show with us. We got a few more stories, and I'm going to tell you about some of the other gun fu movies that I love that you may have never heard of. And, of course, phone lines are open as well at 907-433-3150. The Michael Duke Show continues. Hour 2, dead ahead. Okay. Oh, baby. So, Gary, I hope I answered your question or your comment. Gary talking about how Lowe's and Home Depot and Sportsman's and everything else, how they hire locals. They're just the same as people in Frontier. The employees might be the same. It might be the same employees, but it's the leadership, the management, the decision-making. That's what I'm paying for when I buy a gun from, Frontier Outfitters or Alaska Guns and Ammo versus buying it from, Sportsman's Warehouse or somebody like that. It's just, that's what I'm paying for, is the locality of it, for sure. All right. Let's see. One line on hold right now. Let's see. I'm going to get this caller's name and location, and we'll get them ready for the return to radio. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Jeremy on the KPB.
All right, hold down there, Jeremy Kasiloff. We'll be right back to you here in just a hot second, all right? Don't go anywhere. All right, so Jeremy is on the line. We're going to be back to him. He's going to be first up in the queue when we return to the radio here in just a hot minute. What was the name of the gun shop that had a TV show in Anchorage? That is, was that Western Guns? Alaska Western Guns? What was the name of that? I only saw a couple episodes of that, and I'm not a reality TV guy, but I found it amusing that it was in Alaska and it was about guns. Was it Wild West Guns? Wild West Guns, Anchorage. Is that right? Yep, it was Wild West Guns in Anchorage. So yeah, so there you go. Wild West Guns. Listen to the Senate Education on Bill Pushback Against Critical Race Theory today at 9 a.m. I thought that happened yesterday, but apparently it's going on. Why was it canceled? I never heard about it. Yeah, I don't think it was very good, quite honestly. I mean, I don't find much reality TV very, very compelling or interesting. But, yeah. The one episode that I think I watched, or the 1.5 episodes, was enough to convince me that I didn't need to really waste my time anymore on that. So, and they had some issues. They had some issues later on. It did have 4 seasons. Let me see. Wild West Alaska is an American reality television series filmed in Anchorage. Seasons 1 started in 2013 all the way up to 2016, and then they got shut down partially because, if I remember correctly, wasn't there evidence of Call of the Wildman, Alaska. I think is that it right there. Wild West Alaska star facing 17 criminal charges. Illegally killing a black bear, blah, 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 blah. There were some other things going on. Yeah. So there was some charges that were going on, apparently, about that as well. So despite the charges, Animal Planet premiered the 2nd season of Wild West Alaska as scheduled and aired it through its last month. So we'll see what's going on. All right. Okay. Let me get back into my list of movies here. What is the one that I was thinking? Oh, Collateral. I talked about the Collateral with you. Yes. Yes. Okay. I remembered now a couple of them. How do we watch on the CRT? You just go to, it's 9 a.m. this morning in Senate Education Committee. You can just go to ktoo.com and watch it there. Or Gavel to Gavel. Just Google Alaska Gavel to Gavel, and you can watch it there, Sandy, as well. Except Northern Exposure was the best representation of Alaska. Yeah, Northern Exposure. Man, that show. Filmed in Snoqualmie, Washington, by the way, outside of Seattle. Ironic. No, ironic. Okay. Let's see. I suppose we should talk about this rare breed thing as well. And I didn't get to my poll yet. I want to talk about this poll because I find it fascinating. All right. So we got a lot to do, a lot to cover here in the next 40 minutes. Excuse me. Man, I went to bed early last night too, and I'm still like, Just be thankful I'm not eating I've got half an apple strudel on this plate that I was trying to eat before the show, but I'm not going to share it with you, so I don't want to show it to you. All right, you guys ready to do this? Let's get going on the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Hour 2 dead ahead. Jeremy's in the queue. Let's do it.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Duke Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, this is my gun, this is for fighting, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a two-way nature right here on the Michael Duke Show. Broadcasting live around the state of Alaska on this, your favorite station and or translator, and around the world at michaeldukeshow.com on the internet. One of our features of Firearms Friday, of course, is the Gun Q&A open line where we talk with people from around the state about a variety of firearms issues, and we've opened up the phone lines today at 907-433-3150, the Pivotel call-in lines powered by our friends at Satellite West. And we've already got a caller for hour 2. Jeremy is down in Kasilof, and he's going to sound off this morning, and we'll get his hot take on something. Good morning, sir. What's on your mind?
Good morning, Michael Dukes and everybody out there listening. You know, the first thing we need firearm for, or maybe not necessarily a firearm, you know, Berna makes these pretty kick-butt pepper ball pistols, and they are CO2 operated, so it's not classified as a firearm.
Okay.
And 2, there's also, you remember Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea, right?
Right.
I mean, this nation was literally conquered with an air gun.
Yeah.
So you don't really need a firearm so much as you do just something for hunting and self-defense. And they do make these big caliber air guns that you just pump them up with your air compressor, and then you can go shoot a moose with it.
Yeah.
I mean that their definition of a firearm back then was a foot pump, and so that you would literally have guys pumping guns full of air so that they could, defend themselves or their forts. You know, you pump it, you pump it, you pump it. This isn't a BB gun, they're not toys. These are grown men guns.
Right.
But they're not firearms, so you can just, buy whatever you need. They're all over the internet.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a license or anything like that to sell them or get them. You don't need the permission of the federal government. And 3, you know, like if I was to own a firearm, Michael Dukes, I'd probably just buy it off Tradio or something like that, and I wouldn't even go through a gun dealer at all. I'd say,
sure,
okay, here's $300, $400, $500. Okay, thanks for the gun later.
No,
right?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think you make an interesting point. The Ghirardelli air rifle, which was one of the first semi-automatic repeating air rifles, was taken on the Lewis and Clark expedition. It was lethal out to 125 to 150 yards, and it was one it was one of the first of its kind. It is an amazing piece of history. And, air rifles can do some amazing things. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
Yeah, they hunt big game in Africa with those things.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Jeremy.
I mean,
thanks for calling in this morning. I appreciate you sounding off this morning on that. And that Ghirardelli air rifle, all the way back to the Lewis and Clark expedition, they used it all the time. The Ghirardelli, by the way, known for again a pretty amazing rate of fire, no smoke from the propellants, and low muzzle report, meaning they were quiet. And it used, of course, the one downside is that the canister that they used to power it took 1,500 strokes on a hand pump to fill the reservoir, but you could get about 30 shots out of that. So as long as you were willing to pump the pump, so to speak, you could get it done. All right, let's go over to the phones again. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Bonnie?
How did you know that?
Well, because you never say who you are until I pry it out of you and I recognize your voice. Bonnie from North Pole, what's on your mind this morning?
I like the movies. Well, it's a series, very old series, so I can tell my age. It's called The Rifleman.
Oh yeah, The Rifleman. Yep, that's an oldie but a goodie. That's an old television series that aired. I mean, that was like the whole Gunsmoke, Rifleman. There was a whole series of those around that time period that dealt with the West and cowboys and everything else, right?
Yes. I watch a lot of those, and I like the old movies. Like there's a movie called Shane.
Oh yeah, Shane.
It's with Alan Ladd.
Yep.
Yes.
Shane, True Grit, Rooster Cogburn. I mean, there's a lot of older good movies like that, for sure. And James Arness as Maverick, kind of thing. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right.
My other comment. Can I make another comment?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I always like the governors, all these people that say gun control. Well, here they are. They're being guarded with guns. It makes no sense.
Isn't it the irony of that?
Makes no sense at all.
Yeah. No, it's the Michael Bloombergs of the world who are just bound and determined that the average everyman can't have guns, yet he spends several $100,000 a year hiring bodyguards to be around him with guns. There's some irony in that for sure, Bonnie. I 100% agree. Thank you for your call, and thanks for calling in this morning. Bonnie was just talking about the Rifleman, and that's in part because today one of the kind of the fun things that I wanted to talk about as far as guns today, because it's Firearms Friday, was movies, your favorite gun movies. And it could just be gun movies or gun fu. I'm personally a huge fan of gun fu, which is the choreography of the gun and gun battles. Let me tell you about a movie that you probably, maybe you've heard of, but many of you have probably never heard of it. And it is one of my favorite. It's definitely in probably the top 3 of my all-time favorite gun fu movies. And that would be a movie by John Woo, who he's made several movies that are on my gun fu list, including Face Off, which I think is pretty fantastic. Mission Impossible 2 was another John Woo movie that had some really great scenes. He's an amazing cinematographer. But one of the first movies that I ever saw that was a John Woo movie is a movie that was made in Hong Kong, and it's called Hard Boiled. And it's about a cop in Hong Kong who teams up with a cop or agent to shut down a crime family, a crime syndicate. And it was probably one of the first John Woo movies that I ever watched. It was made back in 1992, so this thing is 30 years old. But it stars Chow Yun-fat, who later, went on to win fame in America for some of the other movies that he did, including Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and some other ones. But Chow Yun-fat is really a great actor for these kind of movies. So if you haven't seen Hard Boiled yet, that is a great movie for action. Also, The Replacement Killers stars Chow Yun-fat as well as Mira Sorvino. And that's another gun fu movie. But Hard Boiled is like one of the original, 1992. John Woo is one of the progenitors to the whole kind of gun fu thing. So if you enjoy that kind of stylistic, kind of John Wick kind of gunplay and everything else, Hard Boiled with Chow Yun-fat. I don't even know if it's available. I don't even know if you can watch it right now. I've got it on disc. I've had it for years because I immediately watched it and then bought it. I was like, oof, man, I want to watch that one again. Hard Boiled, 1992, John Woo, Chow Yun-fat. Let's go over here to the phones to see what else we got going on. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
I hate to monopolize it, Mike. This is Ron from North Pole.
Oh, you're good. Hour two.
Your previous caller brought up something from my youth that I thought was extremely humorous.
Okay.
Have you ever considered what a lanky fellow Chuck Connors was?
Yeah, he was skinny as a rail, wasn't he? That guy.
And he had exceptionally long arms. And one of the toy manufacturers, when I was a youngster, came out with a replica of McCain's rifle. And, of course, I had to try the full spin with it.
And you realize your arms
are
not
nearly...
nearly...
break my collarbone.
Yeah, you realize...
It's a wonder I didn't break a collarbone.
You realize your arm is not nearly long enough. Right, exactly.
But on some more serious matters, the issue you brought up about the Arizona schools, over probably the past 10 years or so many schools throughout the country have instituted educational programs in finance, checkbook management, credit card, and that sort of thing. And I don't see a great deal of difference between that and firearms education.
Well, they want to do that. They want to do the lifestyle stuff. They want to do sex ed. They want to do, if they should do all that, then guns are a big part of American life, whether you personally have them or not. You're bound to, come across them at some point, especially, living in rural areas or living in more rural states. And, like Mark said earlier, calling from Delta, people come over to your house, kids who are from families that are maybe not pro-gun, maybe they're anti-gun, or maybe they're somewhere in the middle. Having that education would go a long way to, to protecting these kids.
Well, and on another matter that came up earlier, the issue of big box and mom and pop, that cuts both ways in many circumstances.
Okay.
I can remember back in the day when we had pretty much Dick McIntyre to deal with, and if you didn't like what he had or didn't like his prices, that was just too bad.
Well, there is true. I'm not debating that. There is obviously in competition. There's always, the customer usually benefits when there's any kind of competition because it forces the price and it forces the selection up, forces the price down, and does things like that. And I agree. I'm not. Again, this is not an anti-box store rant or anything else. It's just my way of saying that when I make a decision to buy something, usually, I'm going to give the money to the company that basically is the most responsive at the local level. And let's face it, a lot of the mom and pops have had to become more niche and responsive to the local thing because they can't match the price and the purchasing power of a lot of these larger box stores.
And in keeping with what you said earlier, I was in one of the big box sporting goods stores. I won't use their name, but their initials are Sportsman's Warehouse, and ran into an old friend of mine who is retired but works a couple of days a week at the warehouse. And anyway, he told me that because of the current component shortage that the employees can no longer purchase any powder or primers from the store.
Oh, wow. You're banned. If you work there, you're banned from buying anything? Good Lord.
Well, yeah, just reloading components, and I thought that was kind of interesting and certainly speaks to the issue of corporate decisions.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree with that. I think that's some pretty crazy stuff. All right, Ron. Well, thank you for calling in again.
Okay, I'll cut you loose.
Don't ever be afraid to call in again. Jason on YouTube just said, by the way, Hard Boiled is free to watch on YouTube right now. So if you're looking to watch that movie, like I said, 1992, it's probably on none of your other streaming services, but you could go watch it. It's free to watch on YouTube right now, and I recommend watching it with the subtitles because it's a Hong Kong movie. It's Chinese, but a great movie, Hard Boiled, on YouTube right now. I've got another line on hold, but I am up against the break, so caller, hold the line. I'll be right back to you. We will be we'll be talking with you in just a hot second. Folks, we got more coming up. One final segment. I got a bunch of other movies that I want to talk about that I hadn't got a chance to talk about yet. So we're going to get into that. Some of the more modern day movies. John Wick, of course, is up at the top of the list on that. Definitely not bad. And we'll talk about that and more. Plus, take your phone calls. 433-3150. The Pivotel call-in line. Willie Waffle coming up at the end of the show as well. Back with more. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
What is that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Duke Show.
Okay, back in action here, ready to go. No, air guns have come a long way. I mean, again, even the Ghirardelli was like that was a game changer back in the day. That thing was developed in 1779 is when the Ghirardelli air rifle was first developed, and it was actually in military service for a lot of years. It really was, oh man, so cool. But modern day air rifles are even cooler, even better. And there's a lot of you can get, like he said, big bore air rifles now to shoot big game. And you can order them right through the mail. No smoke, very little report. You could shoot arrows out of them. I didn't know that. You could shoot arrows out of them. I had no idea. Well, super cool, man. Super cool. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. Something of a savior of the world said something like, get a sword. Yeah, there's a line in scripture that says something like, get a sword. If you do not have a sword, sell your cloak and buy a sword. Something like that. Basically saying you have to, protect yourself. But again, if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword as well. So you're right. What was the rifle the rifleman used? I think it was a Winchester. What kind of gun did the rifleman have? It was an 1892 Winchester caliber .44-40 with a standard 40-inch barrel. It was an 1892 Winchester. So that's what they said. But what was ironic was it was a historical anachronism as the show was set in 1881, and he was using a rifleman, and he was using a rifle that wasn't developed until 1892. That's funny. That is funny. It appeared with 2 different types of levers. The backwards round D style was used in the early episodes. Sometimes the rifle McCain uses has a saddle ring. The lever style later changed to a flatter level instead of the large loop without the saddle ring. Anyway, interesting gun, that's for sure. The Rifleman. Man, it's been a long time since I've only seen a few episodes of it because it wasn't something that played when I was growing up. And we didn't really have access to it. 5 seasons. 5 seasons with over 150 episodes. 1958 to 1963. So, anyway, you can go out and check that out. Starring Mucus McCain and his son Puke. What? Wow. Somebody's a little savage out there today on YouTube. Lucas McCain, Civil War veteran, yada, and his son. I don't know what was the son name. I can't remember. Anyway, looking forward to. Maybe I'll have to track that down and watch some of those old episodes. Sometimes you can't go back. Oh, it's on Amazon Prime. Nice, thank you, 12th Man. I appreciate that. I'll have to put that on my list of things to go watch. Check out the Henry Axe. Oh, no, it wasn't a Henry. It was an 1892 Winchester. But there you go. All right, 30 seconds out. One final segment before we run out of daylight and have to jump into it with Willie. Folks, like and share this video. Like and follow the show page. Thanks for coming out and sharing your morning with me this morning. My favorite weekly episode is Firearms Friday. We get the fewest viewers on that day, but it doesn't really matter. It's not for them. It's for me. This is my therapy session. So here we go. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Do it. Okay, welcome back to the program. Somebody just mentioned we were talking about The Rifleman, the show, The Rifleman, and I was making a comment that I hadn't seen but 1 or 2 episodes of that in my whole life, and I was going to have to track it down so I could watch some of them. And one of our viewers on YouTube made the mention that said that it's on Amazon Prime Video. You can watch The Rifleman on Amazon Prime Video. So nice. I love it. I love it. So fantastic. Thank you for sharing that with us out there. Okay, we are in the final segment. I had one line on hold, but they did not hold on, so we'll have the phone lines open right now as well. So I guess I should run through because we've only got about 10, 12 minutes here before we're going to take the break and go talk with Willie Waffle. So let's talk about some of my favorite gun movies. I just mentioned Hard Boiled, which is also available on YouTube apparently to go watch. You know, some of the honorable mentions, I guess I should say, would be like the spaghetti westerns. You know, anything with Clint Eastwood is always good. I always love that for sure. There are some fun movies with guns that are not really, well, I don't know. Wanted is one of them. That's James McAvoy and Angelina Jolie. It's okay, you know. But some of the really good ones would include like Sicario. Sicario. I don't know if you've watched that at all. That is an amazing movie. That is full of the real to life. Really, one of the latest ones was the 2020 movie with Chris Hemsworth called Extraction. And we've talked about this on the show a couple times with Willie. Extraction is a movie about a mercenary who basically is enlisted to rescue the kidnapped son of a crime lord. And it is also an amazing movie. Any movie that's written by Robert Rodriguez, also pretty good, whether that's El Mariachi or Desperado or some of those other ones. Definitely at the top of my list. Boondock Saints, another one that's probably at the top of my list as well. One of the ones that's kind of a true-to-life story about about that bank heist in L.A. back in the day with Val Kilmer and Robert De Niro and Al Pacino is Heat. And that shows basically, again, it's another Michael Mann movie. Michael Mann makes some amazingly realistic, I guess I should say, movies like that. He made a movie called Band of the Hand, Band of the Hand. And that is also another great movie, probably unsung movie that you haven't seen yet. There are a few directors out there that I just, I'll go watch them because that's how good they are. Chad Stahelski, the John Wick guy, Michael Mann, John Woo, and even Quentin Tarantino. Reservoir Dogs, Django Unchained. There are some really, really good movies as far as gunplay goes in that. And I know somebody out there is probably rolling their eyes and be like, well, you're glorifying. But it's theater, right? It's just storytelling. But it's definitely some interesting things out there as well. I will say that one of my favorite again, unsung movies on that is probably Luc Besson, the French director, with Jean Reno, and it's called Lyon. It's called The Professional. If you haven't watched that, that is amazing. That's available on HBO Max. I saw that the other day when I was scrolling through HBO Max. It's been a long time since I've seen that. What are some of the other ones that just kind of jumped right out at me? Another newer one, if you haven't seen it yet, is called Polar, and that stars Mads Mikkelsen, and that is a pretty amazing movie right now. It's on Netflix. If you haven't watched that one, definitely good. What else? We're talking specifically about movies that have a lot of kind of gun stuff. And I mentioned Bulletproof Monk. I also mentioned Replacement Killers, again, Chow Yun-Fat, and Clive Owen, Shoot 'Em Up. That's also a good one. I mean, these are all, again, some are more true to life, kind of more real live action. Some of them are kind of just fun movies that are shoot 'em ups. And one that probably a lot of people don't think about, but should be thought about, Quigley Down Under. That's a great gun movie. With this big Sharps buffalo rifle and cowboys that is a great movie. Quigley Down Under. If you haven't watched that in a long time, go watch it again. It's super fun. All right, let's go back over to the phones over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from? Hello? All right, they didn't hold. Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Ray at North Pole.
Hey, Ray, what's up?
Yeah, you forgot to mention Gunsmoke.
Well, somebody else. I was talking about movies mostly, but somebody mentioned The Rifleman. Gunsmoke is also another good, classic movie or classic series out there that features guns. I like one that features kind of more of a focus on the firearms. But yeah, Gunsmoke is a good one. There's nothing wrong with that for sure.
That Quigley is often awesome.
Yeah, Quigley is really. And I love the fact that he's so focused on the rifle and everything else, but then it shows at the end that he doesn't mind a short pistol either. So good stuff. All right. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate it. Let's go over here. Another call before we go to break. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Jeff from Homer. Talk about your favorite movies. And this one's got guns in it, but it takes you way back to the trapping days, and that's old Jeremiah Johnson with Robert Redford in it. That was a good movie. And but I think The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, that fits all of us.
The Good, Bad, and the Ugly again. Yep. The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Some of the Sergio Stallone, the spaghetti westerns. The Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More. There's definitely some good ones in there for that, for sure. I agree 100%.
Yep, that's all good. Then I was on Alaska Dawn years ago, and I wondered why we didn't see the one with Clint Eastwood in it there. You make my day, punk.
Right,
I hadn't seen it in years, and I found it on the boat, and I watched it, and I said, well, I can see why I don't put it on because it's pretty racist.
Oh, yeah. No,
some of the things they say there.
Yeah, some of the older movies, definitely a little rougher. That's definitely a thing for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, those are all good movies. All right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your call. I appreciate you sounding off on that as well. Jeff on the line there. I had one more that I was just going to throw out there that it just flashed in my mind. I was like, oh, I wanted to. Oh, it's gone. I can't remember what I was just going to. Whatever Jeff just said really sparked it for me, and I was like, oh yeah, I should remember that. And now I can't. And now I can't remember it. Doggone it! It was a good one too. That's what happens, I guess, when you reach the end of your tether. And like I knew I had. Yeah. Anyway, lots of good movies out there. Lots of good movies out there. Full Metal Jacket. Yep. Pale Rider. Definitely. Lords of War. Lots of good gun movies out there for sure. All right, folks. Out of time. We got more coming up. Willie Waffle's up next. The Michael Duke Show. Common Sense, Liberty Based, Free Thinking Radio.
Streaming live every weekday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
SEAL Team, the unit. SEAL Team is pretty good. They're pretty accurate with a lot of the things that they're doing there. I've been watching SEAL Team lately. Whenever my wife's doing something else or not up to watching something, that's my lone watching is SEAL Team. I'm into season 2 of that right now. Loving that. What was it that Jeff was talking about? My brain, man. I had it and then I lost it. It was I was like, oh, this would be a good one to mention. One of my favorites, and I can't remember what it was. Yeah, okay. Well, it's gone. It's gone now. But yeah, you would definitely some of those movies that we've mentioned today. All of these movies are good movies. I would watch every one of these. We should have like a marathon, a gun movie marathon, where you'd have to watch, all the John Wicks, Extraction, Collateral. Yeah. I mean, I could have nothing but a weekend of gun fu movies. Hard Boiled. Oh, that's such a fun movie. Such a fun movie. All right. We've got another call, which I guess we'll take during the break. Because we've got Willie Waffle coming up here in a minute. Let's go over to the phones. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Dean from Delta.
Hello.
On your movies, man, Clint Eastwood and Unforgiven.
Oh, Unforgiven, absolutely. Again, that's a great one. You're 100%. I'd totally forgotten about that one. Definitely Unforgiven. Yep.
Not a problem. Thank you. Great show, by the way.
Oh, hey, thanks for calling in and thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Yeah, Unforgiven. Definitely another good one, for sure. The Equalizer. That was another good one. The Denzel Washington. Man on Fire. Speaking of Denzel, another great gun movie is Man on Fire. I don't know if you've seen that. Denzel Washington, I think it's Dakota Fanning, right? I think it's Dakota Fanning as the little girl. He's the bodyguard that's got to protect the little girl. Predator. Oh, man, that's what I missed. Yeah, because that's the first time you ever see the Red Dawn. Thank you, Herman. That's the one I was thinking of when Jeff was talking, is that the original Red Dawn. You want to talk about a good gun movie. Red Dawn, definitely. It wasn't always the most accurate with its portrayal of guns, but you definitely saw, you definitely saw some stuff there. Now I want to watch that again. It's been a long time since I've seen the original Red Dawn. The remake is not bad either. The remake is actually pretty good. But there's nothing as visceral as that first Red Dawn movie was just like, wow. And it was Russians. It wasn't the second one. Did they make them, were they South Koreans or were they North Koreans or something, or Chinese? I can't remember in the second one. But, yeah, definitely. So I definitely like that. Definitely like that for sure. Red Dawn. Wasn't a huge fan of the Rambo movies. I mean, I watched them all, don't get me wrong. But I don't know. They just never did anything for me. 13 Hours, definitely another good one. But yeah, Red Dawn. Thank you, Herman, for throwing that out there. That was the one that was tickling the back of my mind. That I was like, oh, I got to mention that one, because that was like one of the first gun movies that really fascinated me as far as, the potential for what could go on and everything else. Definitely some good ones. In a real Red Diamond Sportsman's Warehouse would get raided. Yeah, absolutely. Here's a good list of all the best gun fu movies of all time off IMDb that I used as kind of a cheat sheet this morning. I added some that aren't on there, but there's some good stories as well. Sly Stallone hates the Rambo movies. Yeah. Well, then he does the Expendables movies, which are funny, but I mean, they're definitely not true to life, but they're fun to watch for sure. If you've ever seen the Expendables movies, they're definitely fun to watch. And we mentioned none of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, right? I mean, Commando, Erasure, the Sixth Day, all those other, all Terminator, but good combat movies. All right. We're coming up. We're about 30 seconds out right now. Do me a favor. Like and share this show. Like and follow the show page. And subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. How about that? We'll get her done. Let's make things happen here. Phone lines ringing. Coming up out of the break. It is the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Share the show. Let's get done. Well, how are you? Oh, you ready? It's Friday. Man, I'm already done. I've got a whole day's worth of work to do, and I'm already ready for the weekend already. How does that work? All right, well, let's bring in the man who is, he likes the nightlife. He likes to boogie. It is Willie Waffle. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm getting ready to disco now.
That's right. You gotta make it happen. All right, so we got entertainment news and streams today. Let's kick things off with the entertainment news. I guess you got a couple stories about the Oscars. I keep telling you that I don't care about the Oscars, but there are people out there that do. I understand. So, where do you want to start?
these are some interesting stories, okay? Like
these are human
these
interest,
stories
right?
you could be interested in, even if you hate the Oscars.
Okay, all right. I'll take your word for it. Hit me with it. What do we got?
Beyonce is going to be the queen bee at the Oscars, baby.
Okay. I mean,
So-
she's like the biggest thing in the world, right? So I mean, even I know who Beyonce is, and I'm a square totally. So all right.
Well, and as you know, they perform the songs nominated for best song, in a movie, and she has one. She did one for the King Richard movie, and she has been in negotiations all week with how they're going to do this. And the rumor is, and I just love this. The rumor is Beyonce would open the show. Oh no, not on the stage down at the theater. No, in the tennis courts at Compton, where Venus and Serena Williams learned how to play tennis.
Right. Okay. So again, just so the other square people out there, I had to actually look this up. King Richard is a movie about Venus and Serena Williams' father, who taught them how to play tennis. It's a biopic, right?
Yes, and it's all about his very unconventional methods, the way that he kind of took on the tennis establishment, the way that he was the one person who truly believed in those two girls every step of the way. God love them.
Right.
And he was played by Will Smith in the movie. Will Smith, right now the front runner for Best Actor on Sunday night. And now this is the part of the rumor that I love, and God, I hope they do it right. So there's a thought that Will Smith would be at the tennis courts for the opening song, and then we would follow his journey through Los Angeles in his race to get to the Oscars in time for the Best Actor award to be given out.
Talk about manufactured drama. All right, well, reality TV. The producer's saying you got to make it more real. Anyway, okay. Well, good. That'll make. They're pulling out all the stops to get the numbers up. I can tell you that right now for nothing. So, all right.
Oh, and they desperately need it. I mean, last year, of course, was the record lowest Oscars ever, and everyone's going to try to say that was an aberration. It was because of COVID and all the weird things that were happening, but they weren't going in the right direction before COVID either.
Right. No, and there's a whole generation like me who are like, okay, Oscars, Golden Globes, great. I don't really care when it's all said and done, but that's okay. Another interesting story, though, is apparently have they got cancel culture going on over at the Oscars? I guess the one of the stars of West Side Story, which was really kind of gotten the Oscar nod early, apparently didn't even get an invite.
Yeah, this has been another story that's developing all week long. Not so much cancel culture, but rude culture, overlooked culture, the culture of the stars, and she ain't one yet. So Rachel Zegler, the star of West Side Story, she played Maria, was very well heralded for it. I mean, she's really fantastic in the movie. And she was asked on Instagram by one of her fans, what are you going to wear to the ceremony on Sunday? And she said, I'm going to be wearing sweatpants and my boyfriend's flannel shirt because I didn't get invited. So this was an uproar. I mean, come on, West Side Story, one of the nominees for Best Picture. She's one of the stars of the movie. They couldn't find a ticket for her, and it looked like her only hope would be, well, let's face it, she's a young, beautiful starlet in Hollywood, so Leonardo DiCaprio would probably take her to the show. But just yesterday, the Oscars announced she's going to give out one of the awards, and therefore she now has a ticket.
Okay, great. Yeah. Somebody back there went, oh, man, we left somebody off the guest list. Okay, all right, okay, good. All right, so we got that out of the way. Let's get to the really important news. I mean, this is the stuff that people just can't wait to hear, and I'm so excited we're going to be breaking this story here. Maury Povich is retiring.
That's right. Who are we going to find out? How are we going to find out who is the father?
Right. Who is Maury Povich's father? That's what we really want.
Yeah. Maury Povich's father is actually a very famous writer, sports writer.
I know. I was laughing because I didn't even know that Maury Povich was still alive. I'll be honest with you. I thought he was already dead. But apparently he's been going strong 31 years on the air. I mean, man, what a workhorse.
Oh, yeah. And what an amazing career. For people who don't know as much about Maury. I mean, he was a serious journalist for a long time. He was an anchor in pretty much every big city during his life: Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Washington D.C., and married Connie Chung. They fell in love when they were working together, and then he was the first host of A Current Affair,
Right.
the show that started tabloid television. And then he got the Maury Povich Show, which used to be a serious talk show, until people realized being a serious talk show didn't make money. So it became all about who's lying, who's cheating, and who's the daddy.
Right. Oh, man, I remember some of those shows, too. And I remember him I remember seeing some of his newscasts as a journalist. I remember watching, seeing an episode or two of A Current Affair. And that was, like you said, that was the genesis of this tabloid media kind of thing. And then it just kind of degenerated into this whole, he's my baby daddy show. And wow. But again, somebody's got bills to pay. Connie's not working anymore. I don't think they need the money, quite honestly. But hey, there you go. 83 years old.
He's 83.
Yeah.
That shocks me. And here's the thing, too. They've done so many of these Maury Povich episodes that his distributor thinks they can just keep airing them for a few more years, kind of like Judge Judy.
Sure.
I mean, Judge Judy hasn't made a new Judge Judy in like 2 or 3 years. They just keep rolling out the old ones, and they're so timeless that people keep watching them.
Yeah.
And they think they're going to do the same thing with Maury Povich.
Hey, there you go. Syndication. That's the gold ring, right? When you're all done, is syndication. So, all right. Well, good for him. Good for him. I'll tell you this next one. My wife is super excited about it. She loves the Addams Family from the 90s. The Raul Julia and Angelica Houston, and of course Christina Ricci as Wednesday, the Addams Family, Wednesday Addams, the child. And that kind of made her famous. And apparently she's coming back to the universe, but not to the role.
Yeah, so Netflix has teamed up with Tim Burton, yes, that Tim Burton, to bring a new Addams Family show to Netflix, and it's going to be called Wednesday, and it's all about Wednesday Addams and her adventures as now a young lady at a like boarding school, a college, something like that, where she's solving supernatural mysteries. And it was announced that Christina Ricci, who is the ultimate Wednesday Addams, will be appearing in the show, but not as herself, not as Wednesday Addams. So whatever role she's going to take, maybe some sort of mentor, or some sort of teacher at the school, something like that. But she is going to be part of it, and then that just kind of brings the whole family together, doesn't it?
Kind of full circle. I got to say, the last thing I saw Christina Ricci in was The Matrix Resurrections, and she played this manic marketing gal at the software company, and it was just hysterical to watch. She is really she's really funny, and she's got some good stuff going on. I'm excited for her, and my wife is kind of excited about it as well. So crime and supernatural stuff and the Addams Family thrown in, she's all about that.
Well, and one of the fun things about the story is that the whole series is going to revolve around some mystery involving Gomez and Morticia.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. I'm down with it. We'll see what it's on. I'm sure Terry will love it. When is that supposed to be coming out?
They haven't announced a date yet. If I was to guess, doesn't this sound like something Netflix would deliver to us around Halloween time?
I would think that would make sense. I'm all about that. So yeah, let's look forward to that. All right, we got about 4.5 minutes here. So let's jump into the streams. Which one do you want to do first, the video game or the rom-com?
Let's do the video game, because there's not as much to say about it. I remember when they first decided they were going to try to make a movie out of Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember, but it was like 2005, and Microsoft thought they had the hottest movie property ever, and they were going to be in control of the production, and they were going to team up with some studio, and to get the studios interested, they dressed up somebody like Master Chief, and they took them down to each studio, and they handed them the script, and they said, you have 2 hours to read this, and then you will hand it back to Master Chief, and you will make your decision. And it bombed. and they've been trying to develop this movie for years. And now it's going to be it's going to be a series on Paramount Plus. It just premiered this week. And yes, it is all about Master Chief. He's a cybernetically enhanced super soldier. He's defending humanity against aliens. And he's found something that's changed him.
Nice.
It's awakened him.
Somebody did like a little mini thing for Halo here about 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago. And it was okay. It was a fun little sci-fi romp in that Halo universe, which I played back in the day. My kids have all played and everything else. So I think you'll have a bit of a built-in fan base for this. I'm just hoping that it takes off on its own. So you've seen the episode or...
Yeah, there's going to be like I think 9 episodes, and it seemed kind of blah. It just seemed like we've been there and we've done that before. Oh, he's going to realize, the super soldier is going to realize he's been somehow brainwashed for all these years, and he's going to fight back against his captors, and yeah. So you get like a huge action scene every once in a while, and then a whole lot of just brooding and sitting around and being angry.
Exposition dump, brooding, action, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll wait for it all to be out there because I hate that once a week thing anyway. It just pisses me off. So that's fine. -1 to 4 waffles on Halo on Paramount Plus.
I'm going 1 waffle. I like Pablo Schreiber as an actor. I truly hope they give him more to do because he can elevate the show.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on to the new Sandra Bullock, Daniel Radcliffe, Channing Tatum, The Lost City.
Here's time to just be goofy. And you know what? That's what this movie is. That's what this movie should be. That's what this movie makes you happy it is, okay? So it is just basically a goofball comedy. It's in theaters only. Sandra Bullock, this adventure novel writer, she gets kidnapped by an eccentric billionaire played by Daniel Radcliffe. And this billionaire thinks she can lead him to this ancient city that she's talked about in her latest book. And the guy who poses for all the covers of her books, Channing Tatum, who's a little dim, decides he thinks he can save the day. So he hires a jungle survival specialist, and they head down to try to save Sandra Bullock.
Channing Tatum is the Fabio of this
He really is.
I saw a couple trailers for this last week, and I got to tell you, I laughed out loud when I watched a couple of the trailers. It looks like it's going to be just fun. How does it do overall?
I think it's fun. I think it's hilarious. I mean, Channing Tatum plays dumb better than anybody else on the planet. He is hilarious. He just has that great delivery, such a very deadpan delivery. Sandra Bullock, she's been one of the queens of goofy for years. You put the two of them together, it is gold. And then Daniel Radcliffe shows a whole other side to him that you haven't seen before. Anybody who thinks he's just, Harry Potter is in for a surprise. And then the jungle survival specialist, I mean, it's no secret. You've seen him in the commercials. It's Brad Pitt.
I can't wait. -1 to 4 waffles quickly here.
I'll go 3 waffles. I think it's hilarious.
All right. The Lost City in theaters this weekend. Willie Waffle, we didn't get to 1883, but we'll chat about that here in just a second. We'll recap next week. Thanks for coming in and joining us, folks. We are out of time. The Michael Duke Show. Common Sense Radio. All right. Quick pickup on Willie for 1883. He did tell me that he watched a single episode.
Single and a half.
All right, single and a half. Based on that in-depth look at a 9 or 10 episode miniseries, what do you think so far?
Okay, first thing is, I will never, ever, ever mess with Tim McGraw ever in my life after watching the first episode and a half.
Yeah.
His character just likes to kill people.
Yeah, I think you find out later that he doesn't necessarily just likes to kill people. He just really wants to make sure his family is safe. I mean, I think that's the whole drive behind this whole thing. Just fascinating. I know you saw a couple of the surprise cameos and everything else. There's some amazing stuff going on just in the first episode and a half.
Well, and I think that you kind of pointed me in the right direction when you said, listen, like this is kind of the unvarnished look of what the life was like back in 1883. These guys are heading out on the Oregon Trail. Half of them, maybe even more than half of them, aren't going to make it. Right. And as you watch the show, you realize why they're not going to make it and what a horrible, horrible life this was.
Yeah, no, but still better than the lives of many of these wagon travelers from the old world coming over from Europe and everything. I mean, it's really shocking. I mean, it is shocking and it is eye-opening, but at the end, the whole story is so wrapped. I mean, you're enthralled the whole time you're watching this thing.
Well, and come on, I don't think we're giving anything away when we talk about the biggest cameo. The biggest cameo. I literally had to text Dukes when this happened. I'm sitting here watching episode 2, and a very distinguished older actor comes walking on playing a Union soldier, and I'm like, is that Tom Hanks? And as he starts to talk, I'm like, damn, that is Tom Hanks.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was coming. I didn't know about it, and so I was like, holy cow. And that is probably one of the most powerful scenes in the first half of the series. It's amazing. I mean, it's just, the whole thing is just, just shut up and take my money, make another one right now. It's,
Well, they are making another one, so that's happening.
Yeah, they're moving on with this from what I understand, and of course the next season of the regular Yellowstone is also out. So after you finish this, man, now you got to go to Yellowstone and watch that too. It's an amazing show. I can't wait till you got them all under your belt, so that'll be sometime in like September or something.
It's going to take me a little while. Yeah. I'm a weakling when it comes to the binging. I can do 2-3 episodes max, and then I got to take a break.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we see how you are. We know how it is. Anyway, good stuff. So we'll get a more in-depth interview on this maybe next week after you've watched another half an episode at least. So you've got 2 full episodes under your belt.
I'm going to try.
See, I was looking for that commitment, and if I was just quiet, he wouldn't say anything. But
I told you, Picard's out, and I got to keep up with it because the spoilers just keep coming at me.
Yeah.
Like this 4th episode, man. Like it comes out on Thursdays. I usually like to watch it on Saturday, and by Thursday afternoon yesterday, man, I just was getting spoiler after spoiler on the internet. I'm like, I gotta watch it now.
Okay, all right. I see you got priorities, and I respect that. Willie Waffle, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you coming on board.
Hey, I will be back next week.
What are we talking about next week? Remind me.
Well, the new Morbius with Jared Leto finally comes out next week.
Oh yeah, the new Marvel flick with a really unknown superhero, kind of an anti-hero. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well, so you'll have to tell us what that looks like. All right, my friend, thanks for coming on board.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Folks, we're out of time. We got to go. I got to go. I got to get this work done. If I get this work done early today, I might leave early. Oh, bad. All right, we will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.